It all began with a soft knock at the door. A gentle tap so delicate it carried no hint of trouble, just a tender nudge that life still stirred beyond the quiet walls of my home. I shuffled to the door wrapped in my old robe, my hair still damp from a quick morning shower. I expected the mailman, maybe a neighbor, with a friendly wave. But there, standing in the golden summer light, was Ethan, my best friend's son. 20 years old, tall, a faint sheen of sweat glistening on his skin from the heat, wearing a white tank top that hugged his chest and arms in all the right places. His dark curls were a beautiful mess, his smile boyish yet electrifying. "Hey, Miss Clara," he said, holding up a small box, his voice a shade deeper than I remembered. "Mom sent me to drop this off for you." I blinked, caught off guard before a warm smile spread across my face. Ethan. Good heavens. It had been months since I'd seen him. He handed me the package, and I caught a whiff of soap cologne and the faint warmth of summer sun on his skin. "Been busy with school and stuff," he said, his grin easy, but Mom said this was important. I stepped aside, my heart giving a curious flutter. "Come in. At least let me get you some lemonade." He hesitated, those deep brown eyes flickering with something unspoken. "Only if you're sure," he said. I insisted, and he stepped inside, moving with a confidence that made my throat go dry. Maybe it was that tank top tight enough to hint at everything beneath. Or maybe, just maybe, I'd been alone too long. I poured 2 glasses of lemonade, the ice clinking softly. Our fingers brushed for a fleeting second as I handed him his glass. His gaze locked onto mine, warm and intense, and he smiled. "You look amazing, by the way," he said, his voice low, teasing. I laughed a little too quickly, brushing off the compliment. This old robe would beg to differ. But he leaned closer, sipping his drink, his eyes never leaving mine. "No, seriously, Clara, you've still got it." His words hung in the air, thick and sweet, like honeyed smoke curling between us. We sat in the living room, and I crossed my legs, suddenly aware of how loosely my robe draped over my skin. Ethan's gaze flicked to my bare thigh just once before he politely looked away. I cleared my throat, desperate to keep things light. "So how's school? Boring?" he said with a grin that lit up the room. "I'm better with my hands fixing things, building stuff." My pulse quickened at the way he said it, innocent yet laced with something else. The air shifted, charged with a quiet electricity. Maybe it was my imagination, my lonely heart spinning wild thoughts, but I felt it pull a spark. I took a sip of lemonade, keeping my tone casual. "Good with tools, huh?" "Yeah," he said, his voice steady, confident. "I help my uncle with plumbing sometimes." An idea sparked in my mind, innocent on the surface but tinged with a daring edge beneath. "My shower's been acting up," I said, my voice softer than I meant. "Low pressure, and I hate cold water. Think you could take a look?" He sat up, his grin widening. "Lead the way." I guided him to the bathroom, my robe shifting with every step, and I didn't bother fixing it. He knelt by the tub, twisting the knob, checking the pipes with a focus that made my breath catch. I stood behind him, watching the muscles in his back ripple under that thin tank top, each movement a quiet promise of strength. "You've got a leak down here," he said, reaching further under the tub. "Might need a new washer." "Can you fix it?" I asked, leaning closer than necessary. Our shoulders brushed, and I felt his breath hitch for a split second. He turned his face inches from mine, those brown eyes locking onto me without flinching. The silence was deafening, heavy with unspoken questions. His gaze drifted to my lips, then lower to the loose fold of my robe. I should have stepped back. I should have said something, but I didn't. Neither did he. The silence spoke for us, a dangerous melody weaving through the air. "Thanks, Ethan." I whispered, my voice barely audible. For what? His tone was low, like a shared secret. For making me feel something again. He didn't answer, just stared, and in that moment everything changed. That night I lay in bed, my fingers tracing my lips as if he'd kissed them. He hadn't. Not yet. But I wanted him to. I shouldn't have. He was my best friend's son, 20 years old, vibrant, curious. But desire doesn't play by rules, and I'd just cracked open a door I couldn't close. The next morning, Ethan was all I could think about. His eyes, his hands, the way he looked at me like I wasn't just someone's mother, someone's widow. I stood before my mirror, brushing my hair, tying my robe a little tighter today. Yet my skin glowed as if it remembered his warmth even without his touch. Another knock at the door sent my heart racing. Was it him? I opened it, and there he was, Ethan, no tank top this time, but a fitted black t-shirt that clung to his chest jeans, hugging his frame. He held a small brown bag. "Got the washer," he said, lifting it with a shy grin. "Thought I'd fix that shower for you." I laughed lightly, hiding how fast my heart was pounding. "You're too kind." He stepped inside, moving like he belonged here, like he was part of the rhythm of my home. We headed to the bathroom, my robe brushing my thighs, his eyes catching the movement but not lingering. He knelt by the tub, pulling tools from his bag, and I perched on the edge, watching him work. I tried not to stare, but I failed. "You keep looking at me," he said, not turning around, his voice teasing. I smiled. "You're easy to look at." He glanced up, catching my gaze. "So are you." That silence again, pulling me under like a tide deeper than words could ever reach. "Need a towel?" I asked suddenly, standing too fast. "Yeah, my hands are wet," he said. I grabbed one from the linen closet, my robe slipping slightly off my shoulder. I didn't fix it. When I turned back, he was standing closer, too close. Water dripped from his hands. "Here," I whispered, handing him the towel. But instead of drying his hands, he reached out his finger, brushing a stray droplet from my collarbone. That touch so light, yet it burned through me. I inhaled sharply. "Clara," he said, his voice a question, a plea. I met his eyes, no guilt, just heat, wonder. I didn't stop him. His hand moved to my waist, and then just like that, his lips were on mine. Not rushed, not wild, but slow, sweet testing. I melted into him, my hands gliding up his chest, feeling his heart race as fast as mine. He pulled back slightly. "I've wanted to do that since yesterday," he said. I swallowed hard. "I've wanted it since before you knocked on my door." That confession broke something between us. He kissed me again, deeper, my robe falling open, and I didn't stop it. His hands explored me like I was a map he'd longed to trace, every curve, every inch, every soft moan I tried to hold back. I was a woman again, not a widow, not a mother, but desired, wanted, alive. Afterward, we lay on the soft bathroom rug, bodies tangled, hearts pounding. Neither of us spoke at first. Finally, Ethan whispered, "Was that okay?" I turned to him, smiling. "Better than okay." "I don't want to push you," he added, his voice soft. "You didn't," I said. "I wanted this as much as you did." He grinned, a real radiant smile that made him look younger yet somehow stronger. "Maybe we shouldn't tell anyone," I said. He nodded. "They wouldn't understand." I stared at the ceiling, my heart full. I didn't understand it myself, but I didn't regret it. In that warm, small bathroom, I'd found something I thought I'd lost: desire. Touch, connection, something more than loneliness. And it came in the form of a 20-year-old who made me feel like a woman again. I woke the next morning wearing Ethan's black t-shirt, its scent clean, youthful, mischievous, clinging to me. He'd left after our moment in the bathroom, his smile-nervous cheeks flushed. But before he went, he pulled me into one last kiss, slow and lingering like he was memorizing the taste of me. Now, barefoot in my kitchen, his shirt falling to my thighs, I could still feel the warmth of his hands. The tingle hadn't faded. I poured coffee, sat at the counter, and stared out the window. The sun was high, birds chirped, but inside me a storm was brewing. What had we done? I was 57. He was 20. My best friend's son. I should stop this. I should push him away. But I didn't, because for the first time in years, I'd been truly touched heart to heart. He made me feel seen. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Can I come by later?" I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I typed, "Yes, doors open." My heart raced as I hit send. By 2 in the afternoon, he was at my door holding a grocery bag. "Thought I'd cook you something," he said, stepping inside. "You cook now," I teased, raising an eyebrow. "Not well," he grinned, "but I'll try." I laughed and led him to the kitchen. He set the bag down, pulling out pasta tomatoes, a small block of cheese. He looked so innocent in that moment, so normal, like this was just another day in a life we'd always shared. He boiled the pasta while I chopped tomatoes, our shoulders brushing, hands grazing as we reached for the same spoon. Small sparks, harmless but searing. "Clara," he said softly. "Yeah. Did I go too far yesterday?" I paused, meeting his gaze. I saw more than a lovesick boy. I saw a man curious, wondering maybe even something deeper. "No," I said gently. "You didn't go too far. We both stepped into something." He nodded, but the silence that followed told me he wasn't sure. "I know this isn't normal," he said. "You're older. You're you. And you're what I asked. Gorgeous. Smart. Out of my league." I blinked, then smiled. "You're sweet." He looked like he wanted to say more, but instead he stepped closer, his fingers brushing my cheek. "Can I kiss you again?" he asked, his voice a whisper. I nodded. His lips met mine, softer this time, less urgent, more careful. His arms wrapped around my waist, and I melted into him, my hands slipping under his shirt, tracing the lines of his stomach. He gasped softly, that sound stirring something wild and deep within me. We kissed until the pot boiled over, hissing on the stove. Later, we sat on the couch, half-eaten plates of pasta on our laps, laughing at how bad it was. "We should have ordered pizza," I teased. He grinned. "Next time I'll let you cook." His hand rested on my bare thigh, fingers tracing light circles. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I wanted it. I needed it. "Are you scared?" he asked suddenly. I thought for a moment. Yes, but I don't regret it. He leaned in, kissing my shoulder. Me neither. That pull again, that ache between something innocent and something we knew could ruin us. But in that moment it didn't matter. All that mattered was how his touch made me bloom again, alive, desired, maybe even loved. Not yet, but maybe someday. That night he didn't leave right away. We lay in my bed, his chest pressed against my back, his breath warm on my neck. His hand found mine under the sheets, holding tight, warm, safe. And then I realized this wasn't just a moment. It was becoming something bigger, something dangerous, something real. Morning sunlight spilled through my bedroom window, casting golden streaks across the sheets. Ethan slept beside me, his hand resting lightly on my waist, his breath soft against my neck. He looked so peaceful, so young, so vulnerable. I watched him for a long time, this boy, this man, my best friend's son. How did we get here? How did a simple gift turn into passion? I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him. Standing by the mirror, pulling my robe around me, the weight of what we were doing settled heavy on my chest. What would people say? What would she say, his mother, my best friend of over 20 years? How would she look at me if she knew her son had kissed my lips, touched my body, whispered my name as I trembled beneath him? Would she ever forgive me? Ethan stirred, joining me in the kitchen, his arm slipping around my waist as he kissed my neck softly. "Morning," he said, eyes sleepy, smile warm. "Morning," I whispered, but my voice was different, tight, cautious. He noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" he asked. I turned in his arms, cupping his face. "Ethan, we need to talk." His smile faded. He knew. "This can't keep happening," I said gently. "We crossed a line and I don't regret it, but it's too complicated, too messy." He didn't speak, just stared into my eyes, searching for something to hold on to. "You're 20, I added, "and I'm me." "You're everything," he said quickly. "You're all I've thought about since I walked through your door." His words shook me, but my fear was bigger. "What if your mom finds out?" I whispered. "What if this ruins everything?" He stepped closer, hands on my hips. "Then we'll be careful." "But how long can we hide?" I asked. He hesitated, and in that moment we both knew this wasn't just desire anymore. It was dangerous, a fire with no water in sight. 2 days passed. I didn't call him. He didn't text. I told myself it was over. But on the 3rd day, my phone rang. It was her, Ethan's mom. My heart leapt into my throat. I answered, trying to sound normal. "Hey, sweetie," she said, cheerful as ever. "Ethan told me he fixed your shower. Thanks for letting him help out. He says he feels more grown up around you." I swallowed hard. "He's been a big help," I said slowly. "I swear that boy's turning into a real gentleman," she went on. "He said you made pasta together. Said it was awful but sweet." I laughed nervously. "He's not wrong." There was a pause, then she said something that froze my blood. "You know," she said softly, "he talks about you a lot. Like more than a neighbor should." I held my breath. "Clara, I don't know what's going on," she continued, "but you're like a sister to me, and I trust you." Guilt twisted in my gut. Trust. That word broke me. That night I texted Ethan. "We have to stop," he replied almost instantly. "Why? Your mom's starting to suspect. We can't keep doing this." A pause. Then, "But I love you." My eyes welled up. Love. It had been years since anyone said that to me. But I knew what I had to do. "Then love me enough to let this go," I replied. "Before it destroys everything." His final text came, "You'll always be the first woman who made me feel alive." I haven't seen Ethan since that night. Sometimes I stand by the window waiting for a knock that never comes. But I remember how he touched me, how he kissed me like I mattered. For that brief time, I wasn't just a widow with a broken shower. I was a woman rediscovering what it felt like to be wanted. Sometimes love isn't meant to last forever. Sometimes a stolen kiss, a whisper in the dark, a moment is enough.